afternoon, everyone. Good evening, wherever you're watching from, respectively. We have a phenomenal show lined up for you today. Today's show, we've assembled a panel of highly skilled and highly talented athletes and coaches, specifically Black athletes and coaches. We're going to talk to them about the challenges, the struggles, the successes, and the life lessons that they've learned, and discuss any roadblocks, internal or external, that they have faced while playing or coaching in their respective sports. At the beginning of this, hopefully we'll shed some additional light on the real life advantages and disadvantages of being a Black athlete, student, and or coach. Maybe we'll walk away with some action items and deliverables for each of us, not just a panel for the community at large. But either way, this is a learning opportunity, and I'm honored to have these folks on the platform today. So please engage and ask any questions. So with that, let me bring this esteemed panel online. Gentlemen, good afternoon.
What's going on?
All right, now let me just bask in the amazingness of what I got here on the screen, because these are some winners right here, folks. These are some winners. Recognize them.
Hey, I hear somebody's pit bull back there barking, trying to get
him. You know what? We're going to do something about that dog in a minute. That's a whole other show. I'm not going to say nothing, but let me start by saying again, first of all, thank y'all, gentlemen, for joining. Thank you for having this conversation. This actually stemmed from a conversation I had with Mr. Montel Allen there. So I'm going to start with the introductions with him. And if you can tell us your name, where you're coming from, your sport and or college that you played for or coached at, and then we get to some more further context. So, Brother Allen, let's start with you.
Absolutely. My name is Montel Allen from Sacramento, but I reside now down in Southern California. Went to Humboldt State, proud lumberjack. I'm supporting San Jose State since they was just up there practicing, utilizing our field and our facilities. I run a company called NBA Sports, which is a nonprofit that helps young brothers and sisters get recruited and go through the recruiting process of obtaining a post-secondary degree.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, sir. Coach Greatness, look at you, man. You just right there blinging, and you got your marquee behind you. We got to talk to you. Let's give us something.
Let's go. Brace up. My name is Kevin Bracey. I'm from Sacramento. Montel Allen is my brother, and because of Montel Allen getting a scholarship to Humboldt State to play football, he put the vision in me, because he was a year ahead of me, that it was possible for me to leave Mesa Verde High School and play baseball at the next level. So Kevin Bracey, baseball player, went from Mesa Verde High School to American River College, scholarship to the University of Utah, a couple of years of professional baseball in Canada. Today, I'm a motivational entertainer, speaking to elementary, middle, high school, colleges, corporations, doing what I love, motivating people and entertaining them at the same time with the same spirit of an athlete. But I can't do the same thing. I'll pull a hammy if I try to.
What? Them days are over, right? Your 40 time is a little bit faster right now, or a little bit slower right now.
Yeah, way slower. I couldn't even run 40.
And again, I want this to be aware. Again, we're going to be cognizant of your time, because you got to go out there and do that motivational entertainment today with a group of young men. So we want to make sure that we be cognizant of that time. So
thank you, sir.
Let's talk to tall boy up there. I see you, sir.
How you doing? Corey Sanders. I go by the name of Tall Boy. Content creator. I went to started out at Cal State Fullerton on a basketball scholarship. Transferred to the University of New Orleans, was where I was able to get my degree. From there, played a little while in the minor leagues. Played professionally overseas once that time was up, and then transitioned into radio, marketing, and now I create content. That's what I do.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Last but definitely not least, Brother Torrance.
Hey, how you doing? Virgil Torrance, originally from Gardena, California, down in Southern California. Ran track in high school, LA City champion in '78. Went to Long Beach City College, where we held many records there. Transferred over to San Jose State. I was a sprinter there at San Jose State. Graduated from University of San Francisco. I live here in Sacramento, California. I'm an IT specialist. I coach track and field, football, a little baseball, but football, but track and field was definitely the sport that I enjoyed. And, so that's where I am right now.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. And Montel, before I turn it over, I guess I want to make this one statement. I asked everyone for not their age, and I asked them for where they came from, where they started in their particular sports, just to really show the audience the depth and the breadth and the reach in terms of what we're going to be talking about today, and the experiences that we have. Right, we got football here, we got track, we got baseball, so we cover all the main sports for the most part. But now, Montel, if you could kind of lead the discussion in terms of kind of the messages that we wanted to get over and hand.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to talk about first, like, what first attracted you to go into that school, the particular school that you went ahead and attended. That's number one. And then let's talk about some of the support mechanism or lack of support mechanisms we had when we were at school, because some of us did go out of state, went to different places, different regions of the country, which we know those the support mechanism for us coming from California is a lot different, and the support as a Black man are really different going to those universities. So I want to kind of focus on that part, and then we'll just have the conversation kind of cater to where it wants to go. So, Kevin, what attracted you? Let's start with you, my man.
For me, what attracted me to Utah was I was one of those guys who I didn't have all the talent. I was never the best player on any team that I played on, ever, from Pinto baseball to T-ball to Bronco to high school to college. But I was the hardest worker on every team I was on. So I was playing like the name of my book back here, and I'm not just here to promote the book, but it's called Scared Great, because I played scared. I did everything scared because I wanted baseball to take me where my dreams, in my vision, I had playing baseball at the big league level. But after Mesa Verde High School, I got a baseball scholarship to the University of Pacific. But I didn't have the same confidence academically that I had athletically, right? So imagine that. I already didn't have confidence athletically as much as I should have. And academically, I had even less than that. So when I took the SAT to take that scholarship to UOP, I didn't score high enough on the SAT. So I ended up going to American River College, a community college, as a detour. So at ARC, when I first got there, Coach Higgins redshirted me because I needed to grow and I needed to get stronger and all the things that go along with being a redshirt. But to me, in my head, it was like I got cut. So I had a fork in the road decision to make. Either you're going to keep going to practice every day just to show coach that when the time comes around, you're serious about it, or you're going to go play Nintendo and chase girls. I kind of did both, to be honest with you, but I went to practice every single day. So I ended up making the team the next year, played 2 years at American River College, graduated. And for me, it's probably different than anybody else on here. I had one school offer me, one school who wanted me. And I'm representing the University of Utah for the rest of my life because there was only one school. I didn't have hella schools wanting me. So that was what attracted me when they took me on. I went on my tour and we hung out. And I was like, man, this is D1 baseball. So I ended up in the WAC conference at that time. And that's what attracted me. They were the only ones who wanted me.
There you go.
Yeah.
Tall boy. Let's hit you. What attracted you to go to schools you went to?
All right. So originally, I got my Division I basketball scholarship, not because the coach saw me play. I had actually got suspended from school in that middle of that week for stepping on a kid's pair of Jordans, and stepped on the guy's J's at lunch. He told me to apologize, which I would have, but his tone told me, you got another thing coming. And you know how that is as African American men. You telling me I need to apologize in that tone. Well, I get suspended. Come to find out, my dad and the principal knew each other, and he said he can come back to school because I really didn't do anything. All I did was stand up, and some girl yelled fight. They said suspend them both, and it was like, well, I didn't do nothing. So, like I said, my dad went back up to the school the next day. He fought for me, and he says, well, he can come back to school. He can come to the game, but he could not play in the game. Well, the game is, I went to high school in Lansing, Michigan. I went to Lansing Everett High School. And if anybody knows anything about Lansing Everett, that is the high school that Irvin Magic Johnson went to. So the game that I played was the big rivalry game, Lansing Sexton versus Lansing Everett, and I couldn't play. So I'm clapping and cheering for my teammates, and there was a scout at the game. And my attitude, because he saw me supporting my team. He saw me, just supporting them, and it was one of my lowest moments at that time. He said, "Who is the kid?" And the coach said, "Honor roll student, great kid, great personality, good player, just got caught up at the wrong place at the wrong time." Man never saw me play, offered me a Division I scholarship to Cal State Fullerton.
Let's go.
So just by clapping and cheering. So come to find out, that was my junior year. I did not even do the recruiting process of picking your 5 schools or anything like that. I was from Atlanta. I had just moved up with my dad. With me moving up with my dad in Lansing, I just knew I wanted to get as far away from Michigan without crossing a body of water. And California was that school. And you're thinking when you go out on your visit, they take you to Disneyland. They take me to a house party.
Wow.
And it's like, you see palm trees and you're like, yeah, I'm going here. Like, bump this. This is California. Coming from Michigan. Now, my dream school was to go to Florida, FAMU. And the funny thing about that was FAMU was not going to recruit me. FAMU was not going to recruit me up in Michigan. So me not understanding conferences or anything like that, I just wanted to go to FAMU because I was from Atlanta and I just wanted to be like that Rattler. That was my big thing. Well, there's another story to that situation, but I chose Fullerton because that coach gave me my first letter. And I said, the first person that showed that they're interested in me, that was where my loyalty was going to lie. And so I made that jump. Speaking of the ACT, SAT situation, I took that ACT 4 times. And the funny thing about it is my graduation day from high school, I had just took the SAT 2 weeks prior in another city. And I was like, well, I'm not going to get up and take the ACT. Something said, get up, take the ACT. That was from 8 to 12. I graduated at 2. And then I had my, what's the little graduation party that you have after the graduation? You have your family all come over. All that was all in the same day. So just imagine how big of a day it was. Man. Coach calls me on July 9th and said, happy birthday. You're now Cal State Fullerton Titan.
Let's go.
I couldn't pass. I kept getting 15, 16s. I just could not get that 17. I just could not get it. And he finally called me 2 days before my birthday and said, you're now officially a Cal State Fullerton Titan. That was one of the happiest moments of my life. You thinking 17, about to turn 18. I was headed to California. You know the old saying, your parents say you got to get out of your house when you turn 18. So that Friday, my best friend takes me to a strip club in Lansing. I ended up leaving that strip club, going to Toronto to play in an all-star game. And then after that all-star game, I was on a flight to California that Monday morning. Wow. So my journey started there. I've never shared this story with anybody, so this is some exclusive content, James. I got caught up in a gambling situation at Cal State Fullerton where somebody offered me some money to throw a game. And I did the right thing. I told the coach. It made the front page of the LA Times, the Orange County Register, all of that. And here I was offered some money, and me not knowing the situation. Right. The coach kind of, the media was knocking on my door. And I didn't know how to handle it. And I told the coach the situation. And I was a freshman starting. And I was a true freshman starting. So I had went out there, they were going to redshirt me, but I had excelled so well that they allowed me to start, or I had earned that chance to start. And then here I was getting playing time. And then when that gambling situation happened, he benched me. And to me, I just told him, I said, that's it. I'm out. And when I did my process to go to the University of New Orleans, as I was looking at my next, I said, I'm going to get all 5 of the schools, and the university that I chose, as corny as this may sound, I ended up choosing New Orleans because I was on a plane with Master P. And I wanted to get, I kid you not, I was on a plane with Master P. I got the hookup, had just came out. And I had met my idol. I had my first tattoo with the No Limit tank.
Come on.
That was my first tattoo. And here I'm on the plane with Master P. And he's like, why don't you go to LSU? Why don't you go to SUNO or Southern? And I'm like, I only know UNO because my assistant coach at Cal State Fullerton is here. And because he's here, I'm going to go, see what he's all about. He gives me his number. And the next day on my visit, I said, can I call Master P? I got this number. I call, it says No Limit Studios. I said, my name is Corey Sanders. I'm looking to speak Master P. They said, oh, he's been waiting on your call. He gets on the phone and he says, I'm having a limo to come pick you up at Lakefront Arena. I said, hold on, let me ask the coach if it's okay. The coach says, well, I really wanted to spend some time with you. And I knew I was out there on a business trip. So I had to tell Master P, which I think that was the worst move that I ever did. But I told Master P, thank you for the opportunity, but I came out here on some business. And I need to understand and get to know this coach, especially if I choose to come out here. And that weekend was Silk the Shocker's graduation party. And so they turned the city up. And I missed out because I went to go do a visit. Now, the coach took me to the Saints practice facility to meet Ricky Williams, who was the biggest thing at that time. And I got a chance to meet Mike Dichter, but I didn't care about football. I wanted to be with Master P. So
come on.
So I ended up going to the University of New Orleans, and I did that because of the relationship that he acted like he cared, whereas the coach over at Cal State Fullerton did not. The coach that recruited me, our last game of the season, he got me in his car because, you can't ride in the vehicles with the coaches. He put me in his car. He says, I'm going to take you home. He says, I'm going to tell you this. He says, I'm not coming back to Cal State Fullerton next year. And he says, I only came back this year because you reminded me a lot of me. And I felt like you needed 1 year of me grooming you. And with that being said, I'm not coming back. I think you have your wings. It's time for you to grow. And I said, if you're not here, I'm not here. And that was what transitioned me to go over to the University of New Orleans. So,
wow, that's amazing. How about you, Mr. Torrance? What attracted you to your school?
A couple of events. One of the things that baseball was my sport. I played baseball from the time I was in the third grade until the time I graduated from high school. But I grew up in the boxing environment. My dad's a boxing trainer. He was a boxer. He's still training now, 5 times World Boxing Hall of Fame. And I didn't want to box. And so I played baseball. So by the time I got to high school, some friends was going to play try out for football. They all played Pop Warner football. I never played. And I went there because I didn't want to box. The only time I went to the gym is I, go clean up and hang out. And that's where my dad kept me off the streets. But boxing just wasn't one of those things. And so I learned that I could run. I can hang out with the older guys and run with them. And so when I got into high school, I started running track. And then that got me a little bit out of my shell. I was very quiet and shy, but it got me a little attention. And then I was able to travel a little bit to other schools and kind of see little things outside of my bubble. So I ran track in high school. I did very well. And then colleges was contacting me, to come to school. And I didn't want to go to college. But my dad told me, you go to college, get a job, or go to the military. Well, I didn't want to go to the military. I didn't know what I wanted to do for a job, because I wasn't interested in much. So I decided to see if I can go and run track. And then Long Beach City College was building their teams, and they called me over to come in and run with them. And so he told me, until you decide what you want to do, start your education and come run with us, because I didn't really know how those things worked because I won the city championship. And so everybody was contacting me to come and play football and run track. And I didn't quite understand, I didn't really have a mentor to kind of tell me about this. And when I was in high school, the coaches just was concerned about winning the championships. That was about it. And, when I went to high school, this was back in 77, 78, they didn't really care much about you as long as you was an athlete and you were doing some good things. So track and field got me to Long Beach, and then after 2 years of that, I started to get letters and notifications, and we're traveling, and people were taking me around. But USC and UCLA was the two schools that I wanted to attend. I went to all the USC football games and all of the UCLA basketball games. So I wanted to go to those two schools. But the problem is that sprinters at the time was a dime a dozen. Everybody had sprinters, and everybody wanted to be a sprinter, and they wanted hurdlers, 400-meter runners. And I was a decent 400-meter runner, but I was primarily a true sprinter. So long story short, colleges was coming to the house, talking to my parents. Kansas brought me out to their campus and was willing to give me a full ride. And it was beautiful campus. Corey, they had the girls out there. It was really nice out there. I enjoyed myself until I asked how cold it got. No, let me start that over. They showed me their indoor track, and I didn't understand, why do you have an indoor track? Okay, but remember, I never left California. I've always been in California, so you didn't need indoor stuff outside of the indoor meets. And they said, "Oh, it gets so cold sometimes. You can't go out and run." I said, "Well, how cold does it get?" "Oh, I don't know, 13 to 15 below zero." And I decided then, no, that's not where I wanted to go. USC was offering me, partial scholarship. USC was offering partial. My parents says, we just don't have the money for that. And then San Jose State popped up out of the blue, and I think they came out to LA like 6 or 7 times. And then when they say, we'll give you a full ride, you don't have to pay for anything, that's what got me to San Jose. And as I started running, and using my training I got from Long Beach, because I think Long Beach City gave me the best training I've ever had. We did a whole bunch of other things. So that had my mentality to say track and field is it. And so I learned there not only how to study in school and stay in school, keep my grades up, but it also taught me to be competitive. And so when I came to San Jose State, it was a little intimidating because they were known as Speed City. And, all the greats went to San Jose State. So, I was still kind of learning about running and how to hang with everyone else. So I had a good couple of years at San Jose State. And, I really enjoyed my college life from, the junior college level to the university level. And so track and field, that was been in my blood, is in my blood now. I'll sit and watch it all day, even the walk racing. I'll sit and watch walk racing. My wife don't understand why I was going to sit there all day. So, that kind of set the basis for me with sports and as a coach, and actually taught me more about people than I have learned kind of on my own, hanging out with my friends. Because a lot of my friends really didn't have any directions. They were just kind of there. And I wanted to leave LA. I loved LA. I grew up out there, but I didn't want to stay in LA. And San Jose State was my ticket to go. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but that was my ticket to go out there. And I'm glad I did, because I think that was probably the best decision I made. Because I don't know what will happen to me if I stayed in Los Angeles. So that's kind of my short story.
That's great, and I like everybody's individual story because it's different. And I'll go mine real short. Mine's is different. I went to go ahead and I played at Humboldt State, Division II football. At the time, man, I was small, super small. I was a little guy. I was probably maybe 5'9", 160, but I could play football. I could hit, and that was a school that really, they were very persistent with me. So they recruited me. I got letters from a lot of other schools. I got interest from a lot of other schools, but Humboldt would really pursue me. And I landed there. Probably one of the greatest experience probably ever had in my life, because I was able to get away from Sacramento and I was able to grow like a man. And hearing all you guys' stories, all you guys went Division I went D2. But this is what I want you guys to think about. I want you to ponder, and I want to kind of segue into this. Each mechanism that took you guys to school, or the mechanism that attracted you to those schools, was all similar to us as a sport, right? So it's basketball, baseball for Kevin, track for you, Mr. Torrance, me, football. Now I want you to imagine something. That mechanism is cut off. Would you go to that school? Not being recruited, not somebody coming calling you anymore. Nobody talking to you about it. Would you go to New Orleans? Would you go to Utah? Would you go to San Jose State? Would I go to Humboldt if they never ever contacted us or never had that mechanism to attract us to that school?
My quick answer is no, because I didn't even know Utah existed.
Mine's is no too. I would have never went. What about you, Mr. Tallboy? Would you would have been new?
I never heard of Cal State. I never heard of Cal State Fullerton. I had because when they said Cal State Fullerton, I said
Right.
Cal State who? That's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
And then University of New Orleans, it was who?
Mhm.
You know, UNO, like Uno, and they were like, no, UNO. And if you say Uno, I get mad if you say Uno because it's UNO. Don't you say no Uno around me? You better say UNO. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
UNO. So no.
Neither for me. I never heard of San Jose State. I didn't know where San Jose was. The only thing outside of in California I knew was Oakland and San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anything else in between there outside of Bakersfield and in Fresno.
Got it.
Yeah. So I wouldn't have gone to San Jose.
So I'm leading to that. I'm leading that part of the discussion because, as we know, I think us as African American men, especially in the state of California, there's been mechanisms taken away from us to attract us to schools, and most predominantly has been sports. You know, and me in particular, I have a passion about because it's football. They cut football out from a lot of the Division II programs, just like they're cutting programs now. Occidental just cut their football program. I believe there's some other Division I programs that are. Stanford's talking about cutting some of their programs as well. Those mechanisms that attract us to go to these schools, outside of anything else, is now are being cut, and I'm having a hard time myself fathoming how the fourth largest economy in the world, which are state schools, cannot fund these programs to keep that mechanism going to attract us to those schools. Because as we all know, all of our dreams will become pro. Whatever we want to be the professional, be the best at it, either go to Olympics, play NBA, play Major League Baseball, play NFL football. But when we didn't make that, we became pro something else. Kevin's a motivational speaker and he's dominant at it. Coach Torrance, you're a coach and you're dynamic. Tallboy, I'm sure you're dynamic in what you do, and I'm an analyst at a Fortune 500 company. But those mechanisms now are no longer there for the next generation. They're not there for your kids anymore. You know, or in certain sports, they're not there anymore. Go ahead, Tallboy. Please interject anytime.
So, in my humble opinion, and I may be wrong about this, but I don't think that college is really for everybody. I think that they need to really pick up a trade because we as African Americans, if you don't play that good old boy system with them, then what job are you going to get? But
I agree.
Go ahead.
I agree with you. The college is not for everybody. The opportunity to go to college is for everybody. That should be there.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Whether you go or not.
But that's
whether you go or not.
That's if you want to. That's if you want to go. But
yes.
Like I said, my dream college was FAMU. So I wasn't trying to go to FAMU to go play basketball. I just wanted to go to FAM. But me being up in Michigan, I was gonna have to find a way to get there. And like I said, the funny story about FAMU is they have the Black College Fair in Detroit, and you go down to Cobo Hall, and all the HBCUs all come. And I would every year stand in line for FAMU, and I got disrespected my senior year. And it was like, I'm not going to this school. You know, it was, I stood in line my sophomore, junior, and senior year, and they said, oh, come back next year. Oh, come back next year. That senior year, I came back with letters of recommendation. I had my resume. I had everything lined up, waited in line patiently. The man took my paperwork and he threw it on the desk and said, okay, he saw a pretty girl right behind me or whatever, and he wanted to talk to her. So I went to go sit in the corner. And when I sat in the corner, the TSU representative from Tennessee State saw me and said, hey, why are you sitting in the corner? I said, I only came here for one school. And she said, what school was that? I said, FAMU. And she says, can I see your paperwork? I showed her my stuff. She said, this is really impressive. And she said, "You mind filling out the application? I'm gonna waive all your fees." I said, "You can do whatever you want. I'm not coming to TSU." By the time, because I already knew that I had a Cal State Fullerton scholarship, so I wasn't trying to be arrogant or anything like that. When I left Detroit and got back to Lansing, no lie, they had called the coaches. They had talked to my coach. They talked to the athletic director. They talked to the principal. They talked to two of my teachers. They called my dad. From the time I left Cobo Hall to the time I got to Lansing, and my dad, when I got home, he says, "You can't leave home." Now, it's a Friday in Lansing, Michigan. You trying to hit them streets when you 17 years old. You waiting on this coach to call, and at that time, it was Frankie Allen, the legendary Frankie Allen, and it was like, I'm waiting on him to call because I'm mad because I'm ready to go run these streets with my boys, and I can't leave the house.
Yeah.
And the first thing he says is, "Have you ever heard of TSU?" And I'm like, "No." He says, "Tennessee," and his words, and I quote, "TSU is a fine university. Our ratio is 17-1. 17-1 what? Female to male." Oh, I'm going. That was my thought process. I said, "Book the ticket. I'm going." So as soon as I got off the phone, I called my dad, and then I said, "Dad, I'm not going to Cal State Fullerton." He says, "Why not?" I said, "Because Tennessee State got a ratio of 17-1. He said, "That's the only reason why you want to go. You ain't going there." He said, "I'm not supporting that." I said, "But I'm going to TSU." And he's like, "No, you're not." He literally called Coach Fuller. Coach Fuller stayed on the phone with me for 2 hours and said, "You're a man of your word, right? You gave me your word. You made this commitment, right?" And that's kind of how I am today. If I look you in the eye and I tell you something, that was a learning lesson at that time for me. But and it still holds to this day. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I do it. If I can't, then I'm going to be man enough to tell you. And I think that was my first lesson as far as me learning that that's what it is. I mean, that if you make a commitment, see it through. Now, to go back to piggyback or to circle back to what you were saying, the schools, I mean, no disrespect to my degree, but I never had to use my degree in the job or the line of field that I'm in. You know, when I tried to go into law enforcement, that would have been great. If I would have tried to go in the medical field, that would have been great. But I never went. You don't need a degree to be a videographer. You don't need a degree to be an interviewer. You don't need that. But they do need HVAC. They do need plumbing. They do need electrical. But you got to pick up that trade. And when you think about the people that go to trade schools, they make way more money than unless you work for the Department of Education or you're an engineer or something like that. So I think that us as African Americans, they need to really identify what it is that they want to do and become their own bosses, as opposed to necessarily saying, "I went to college." Because in my humble opinion, college is only, this is my opinion, it's only there to network. That's it. It's all about me meeting you, and then how can we utilize our strengths together to help each other get to the next level or bring somebody else up. Now, that's my thought process on what I think college is all about.
I agree to you certain aspect. Go ahead, Coach Torrance, and I want to go into something else, but go ahead, Coach Torrance.
Okay, so I kind of agree with you on some of that. If track and field wasn't, if sports wasn't in my future, one of the things that my schools were doing was advertising a trade school. And before I actually went to Long Beach City College, LA Trade Tech is where I was thinking about going because I wanted to be an X-ray technician. And so, HVAC, X-ray tech, plumbing, heating and air, those are the things that we were told we need to do. Because very often, and I don't know about you guys, when I was young, all I heard was, "You're good at your hands, work with your hands." They didn't encourage us to go to school. They didn't encourage us to really think and use our brains, right? And first thing I was thinking, okay, I'll go do a trade or sports. Well, sports got me in college. That was never in my future, in my opinion, but it got me in college. But going to a trade would have been helpful for me because I wanted to be a technician, because I know I can go and work with the sport teams, so that was my whole idea on that. And then when you're talking about colleges, we didn't have college fairs at my high school. I never heard of an HBCU until I got to San Jose State. So they didn't talk to us about that. At least in my school, we never had any of those type of things. But it was more of talking to others, networking with people, for those who are outside of our community. My biggest thing was to stay out of the gangs and stay away from the gangs. And that's why my dad kept me at the gym, taught me how to protect myself. But I wanted something else, and I didn't know what that was. But then once track and field got me out of Los Angeles, then a whole new world opened up for me.
Exactly, and that's kind of where I was going, like with the mechanism part, that mechanism that attracts you. I'm gonna kind of transition some other, especially for you, Kevin, before you have to leave. I know your time is oppressed. So with that being said, are all of us from California, or are all of us reside in California right now? Or
I was about to ask you that. I live in Atlanta.
You live in Atlanta.
I'm the only one that went to California, and y'all was
But okay, so being from California, and like I said, that mechanism that they've been taken away from us. I was talking to James before this whole thing last week. Why is there not a HBCU in the state of California?
Wow.
Because we have everything, every mechanism that should be a HBCU. We have the history, we have the culture, we have the dynamic culture. We should have the money given to us as a Black community to be able to have that kind of institution to engulf those people that do want to go to school. We should be able to have a self-fulfilling place where we can teach our own, have the Black college experience, which is different from going to a white college. Everybody knows it has its different experiences there, positive or negative, however you may feel it. But why do we not have that in the state of California? How come we have not, as a community or as people or as coaches, as administrators, pressed that issue at all? For us to have that kind of mechanism, for us to attract our youth, because we know we're losing a lot here in California, especially young men. We're losing those guys a lot, to whether it be the system, to whether it be the streets, to whether it be just lack of opportunity. I would love to be able to hear you guys' opinion. How come we don't have it as of right now? Why we don't have it right now, and how can we get to that point?
I think the furthest, and don't quote me on this, I think the furthest HBCU is either Texas or
Oklahoma. You got Oklahoma, you got Langston in Oklahoma, you got Texas College in Texas, and both of those are very, very small. If you call HBCUs, they're very, very small. Beyond that, once it gets the Mississippi, the west of the Mississippi, we don't have anything.
So I guess my question is, because HBCUs are predominantly in the South, there's no HBCUs up the East Coast past.
Morgan State in Virginia. You got Howard in DC.
I said past Maryland.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
There's no HBCUs in the Midwest.
Take it back. You got a Central State that's in Ohio. That's a HBCU.
But not in Wisconsin or Illinois, Nebraska.
But they don't have as rich. I don't think their history is as rich as in California. We have Oakland is right there, the birth of the Black Panthers. We have a lot of rich Black culture history in the state of California. So I'm wondering why we have never pressed ourselves to have a HBCU in the state of California.
And I was going to ask you, maybe those HBCUs, like the Clark Atlanta, the Morehouses, the FAMs, the Jackson States, whoever were those founding members, maybe they did not have ties out there in the California area or in the Utah area or in the Nevada area. Maybe they didn't have that, And
I would agree with you, and I believe that's probably true back when they first started. But now we're here, 100 years later. And now we do have those ties with those schools. We do send people. We migrate out there to be a part of the schools. I'm saying right now, in this day and time,
right,
where we're in the 2000s. Why hasn't it been supposed to be developed like that? And I'm not having an argument discussion. I'm saying I don't understand, with our rich heritage do we have in the state of California. You've been to California before, with major cities like San Francisco, Oakland, LA, Sacramento, San Diego. We have such a diverse population and such a growth. I mean, a big wealth of population. Why hasn't it been presented, and why hasn't it been pressed? And then, Kevin, I want to hear from you specifically. I know you got to go before everybody else. Go ahead, so Kevin, give me your perspective on it.
Yeah, there's just certain topics that I sit back and learn, because I know you work with colleges and college students a lot. So this is probably a topic that is heavy on your mind, and you think about it and you talk about it because you get a lot of kids that you're putting through to sending them to different colleges to play sports. But for me, that question has never crossed my mind, especially now being 48, having graduated from college in 1996. So that's a question that I would sit back and learn and listen, because I have No idea. I can't even, in my mind, I'm thinking, man, I never even thought about that question. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That never even crossed my radar. So certain things, I just got to shut my mouth up and sit back and listen. So that's one of those things because I have no idea.
Yeah,
Great question.
And I'm gonna elaborate a little bit on it because I feel that it's such a big need, but because we, like I said, we're such a dynamic investors in our community, right? Us as Black community, whether we spend a lot, we're consumers,
right?
And we spend a lot of money on that. I don't understand why we can't, in the state of California, again, fourth largest economy in the world, not the United States. We're in the world. We compete with the rest of the United States as one of the largest economies.
Right.
So with this state alone, something like that, which is having so many Black folks and so much Latino folks and people with brown skin here, how come we don't have something like that to call our own, where it's an educational mechanism to get us into these things, these trades, these companies, these partners, because we have every industry in the world here, from agriculture to cinema to where it's entertainment to where we have biotech, engineering. We have all the high-tech companies here. We have political science. We have the state capitol here. Everything is in California, where everybody else is segregated. East Coast, you have certain things all of these different states. We have it all here, but yet we have all these other educational institutions, and they attract predominantly different races. It does what it does, but we have nothing for Blacks or people with brown skin, or Afro-Black, whether you're Afro-Latino, Black or nothing. We don't have that here, and I'm really curious, to hear other brothers and other people's opinion why we don't, or why hasn't it been approached. I want to hear from you, Coach Torrance. Please elaborate. You've been around for a minute. Tell us what's going on.
I don't know. No one has ever posed that question to me before, and like I said, I never heard of an HBCU until I moved up north to California. I'm to San Jose, and the only reason why the HBCU has come to play because I had a sociology teacher who's African American was asking us about why we haven't, or did we consider a HBCU? And I sat there and said, I don't even know what that means, So you bring up a good point. There's a lot of rich cultures here. I don't know about the funding because I do know that with the predominantly white institutions, the percentage of African Americans are low, mainly African American male. So how do we attract them there? Because with the fundings, with the money, or some type of a way to get into college, and I don't know if a HBCU will be attractive enough to pull them in from out of state, because again, you get a lot of money from out of state students. And so I don't know how to kind of formulate that. I need to kind of take that back and talk to my circle of networks, and see what other brothers are thinking about how here, and just to kind of start that conversation, because that's a very good conversation to have, and just to kind of get the perspective of others, what they think, why there's not an HBCU here. And I know who are history buffs, and they can probably kind of chime in on this pretty deeply.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of research on it, and I haven't been able to come to any conclusion or any answer to why, except that one, it hasn't been brought up. But I know I'm not that bright of the guy that's been the first person to think of that, so I'm sure somebody else has thought of it, and there's a reason why. But I think something like that could be so impactful, because I work in corporate America. I work for Fortune 500. All the companies I've ever worked for in my life have been Fortune 500. And I know the argument there is when I ask, about hiring Black people for one, and Black males in particular, there is none. They said there's not enough qualified.
They're qualified.
And to go outside of the state, because we can go to Atlanta and go get them, absolutely. But who in Atlanta is gonna take $100,000 a year job or $150,000 a year job to move to the Bay Area to have a roommate? Right. Well, they can get $150,000 in Atlanta, and they live like a king. They got a mansion. They're fine over there. There's no need. So that transition is too hard. So why aren't we grooming our own in the state of California to be able to stay here? Because they understand the dynamics of the economy. They understand how it is. They understand how to maneuver within the economy when it's like that. But we have nothing there for us. We don't have any. We don't have anything for us. So I think having California, you were saying going out of state. I don't think we even need to go out of state. We should have an institution that's here to debate that mainly will accept you if you come out of state, but we have enough student body, enough black folks, enough brown folks to would fill that school up with not a problem. Because they want to have they want to have the HBU experience, they want to get the quality education, and let's be honest with you, it's great to learn from us. I want to learn from a man that's older than me that's the same color as my skin because I can relate to him. I want to learn from a young lady that's the same color as my skin because I can relate to them. They can understand my struggle and my differences that I've been able to go through. I think other young people can relate to that as well. So just food for thought, man. I really, you all brothers is very intelligent. You guys all know. I really want. I see the things that's charming because my man Tall Ball got his hand on his mouth. He thinking,
Right.
you know. So I really like to get some perspectives from you guys because.
Hey, Montel, I'm the type you got to shoot that question to me a couple days before so I can do a little research. Hey,
we hit you right off the block there, didn't we? We came. I was making sure we saved that until everyone was on screen and wanted to get that reaction. That's good stuff.
Yeah, because brothers, I mean, be honest with you. I mean, with us, with us being such a large economy and we give so much to this state, not only just financially but culturally, we give so much to the state of California. You know, as a black culture, as a brown culture, I don't understand why I'm having a hard time understanding why they're not embracing us to allow us to educate ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they not giving us a platform or a space in the state of California where we can send our kids to go be around us? You know, I don't want our kids live in the middle class because we're all, we've all making some money and doing good. Our kids shouldn't be afraid to be around other people when they're in, because they're in a different economic situation.
Right.
They shouldn't be fearful of that because when you go to that college or you go to that platform, we're all on the same level, right? You could be rich or poor, you're still in the dorm room.
Right.
But we can learn from each other. We don't have that platform. We still have that divisiveness, I believe, in that situation. So that to me would be a huge investment in our culture, a huge investment in our people, if we could have something like that on the West Coast, whether it be a Clark Atlantic, California, or whether it be a Howard, California. Doesn't have to be something that's brand new. Maybe something that we branch off and they bring it over here. Tall Boy, I see you smiling, man. What you got? What you got going over there?
No, man. I mean, I just think at the end of the day, I think you got, and this is not to be the elephant in the room. I just think that black people, one, we're not trusted with money, quote unquote, when it comes to certain things. And I think it's who would be in charge, who has the capital, and then can we get everyone to come together? It's no different from the new bank that just came about with the Greenwood Bank here in Atlanta. And it's like, you have a new bank, and how is that really going to look moving forward now that we have a black-owned bank that's a digital bank, shall we say? That's no different from this. Like, who's going to be in charge of that? Right now, HBCUs are already struggling, and they're asking for money from the federal government, whereas a lot of these predominantly white institutions, I think they call them PWIs, from my understanding, they have that strong alumni where they pour back into it. And my thing is it's all about capital. And do you trust me? If you give me $2 million to start, and then somebody else gives me another $2 million, am I going to funnel that into creating? Look at Dr. Umar Johnson. No disrespect to him, but where's that school that he said that he was going to build? So now you're asking other people to put up money. They want to know that money is going to go to to the resources that they say that it's going to go to. And I think that's what's holding you up for the question that you're asking.
I think you're right. There is a financial responsibility and burden to bringing that here, but I truly believe, I mean, smart minds prevail, and I'm not saying maybe start from the scratch. Like I said, why aren't we taking a blueprint from the Howards or Grambling or Southern and saying, you know what, they can have that as a West Coast, even though that is more of an investment, huh?
Are they willing to share it?
I don't know. I'm not in that conversation.
I'm just saying, you're throwing it out there, so I'm just saying.
Well, I'm thinking,
or one of these other colleges be willing to share and say, you know what, we're going to do a branch when they're already struggling financially.
Well, I would say possibly not right now, but I'm saying right now in the state, when we're in the state of California, in the state of mind we are with the black movement right now, Why is that even not even being entertained? And money can be privately funded. It doesn't just have to come there. We have enough millionaires and billionaires in the state of California that I think we could tap into that are in the entertainment and in the high tech world of that to see if they can bring that. But if the idea's never even fruit traded or presented in front of them, there is nothing to invest in if it's not even there. I'm speaking on the idea like not beyond just the financial aspect. What else is holding us back? And I like the dialogue, Talbot. So we can go. I think we need to figure out why can it not be presented. Why is it not being presented in front of the body?
Yeah, so let me interject because again, I don't want to deviate from the conversation because I think it's an important conversation, and again, it was one of the premises for even having this discussion today. I actually, ever since I talked to you, Montel, I've kind of taken some onus in saying, how can I find someone in education to actually further on this conversation? So someone in control, someone that actually has some say in terms of how finances are spent within the state. So we're going to continue this conversation, but I kind of wanted to rein back in just a little bit to make sure that we talk about. So we've talked about struggle, we've talked about challenge. Let's talk about now the successes either that the four of you gentlemen have had, right? I kind of want to talk about some of the things that you're doing now that your playing days may be over and what you're doing now to talk to the youth, inspire the youth, bring about positive change and positive focus inside and outside of athletics and how that relates to academics as well, right? Because everybody can't, like you say, everybody's not going to be on that 53-man roster. Everyone's not going to be out there on the field. Everyone's not going to be doing the UFC like we was just watching. You can't all kick somebody in the head like that. You think you can, but let's talk about some of that. And I think with that particular topic, I'm going to start with Mr. Bracy. And I think it's a low question. It's a softball. You know, what are you doing in your time, sir?
Well, you know, what playing sports has taught me so much just about life and about myself. And I just, if there's any young people watching, that's where my juices flow. If there's any young people watching who want to play sports and who are playing sports and they're wondering how does sports transition into, I don't want to say real life because playing sports is real life for some people, but the thing, everything that it has taken me, I'm going to talk first person. It has taken me to play baseball at a community college level, play baseball at the Division I level, play some professional baseball in Canada. All of those ingredients, the practicing, the determination and the discipline and doing the work in the off season when nobody's looking and the camaraderie and all the things that it takes to make a team. Those skills, those attributes are transferable. You can take those things and apply them anywhere else, and you're going to be successful in whatever it is. If you take what it takes, think about this, fellas, whatever it took for us to make our teams, Division I, Division II, Division III, Ivy League, it does not matter. Those same skills can be applied to anything, and you're going to be successful. And most people don't have those. So just being an athlete puts you in a different category. I remember when I was winding up at the end of my baseball career, 2 years of independent professional baseball in Canada. And I remember in my second year, when we were on our bus trips, going to all these little cities and playing ball, man, having a good time. I remember on those bus trips, I started thinking, man, what am I going to do with my life when I'm done playing this game? What am I going to do with my life? I went to school. See, a lot of people, I didn't go to school to get an education. I went to school to play baseball. The education just came along. They were like, man, you only got 20 units left. You might as well finish. Okay, let me finish. Let me get this done. I did not care that much about my academics. I had my mind on playing in the big leagues. So I'm thinking, what am I going to do with my life? And here's what playing pro ball taught me, and even college ball, that you can do what you love and get paid to do it. There wasn't nobody in my life doing what they loved and getting paid to do it. My people, I love them, but on Sundays, everybody trying to figure out how they can catch a cold and call in on Monday and get one more day off after Sunday night football. So there was nobody in my world who I saw that loved what they did. So I said to myself on that bus, and this is probably why I never made it, because I let a little inkling of doubt creep in and started thinking about life after sports. And I said, I am not going to settle. Hear me, athletes. If there's any young athletes listening, I'm not going to settle for something that I don't have a passion to do. I'm going to find what I absolutely love to do. And just like you, tall boy, nobody's ever called me to book me and say, hey, where'd you go to school? What degree did you have? Not once. I've been speaking for 23 years, tall boy. Not one time did somebody say, what is your degree in? I'm not saying I'm not happy and grateful that I did it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's never happened to me. And as soon as somebody gave me a cassette tape, y'all remember cassette tapes? Don't leave me out here. We from the same generation. Come on, Master P used to sell them out the truck. So I put a cassette tape in my white Pontiac Grand Am, and I pushed that cassette tape in there. Somebody wrote it to me. And when I pushed it in there, it was the voice of the legendary, the Jackie Robinson of motivational speaking. His name is Les Brown. We all know him. Yeah. I heard Les Brown's voice for the first. I didn't even know you could get paid to talk, except for Muhammad Ali and teachers. You know what I'm saying? So when I put that tape in my tape deck and it got stuck in my tape deck, think about it. I'm driving Pontiac Grand Am, stuck in my tape deck. I couldn't eject it. I couldn't turn it off. Every time I turned it on, his voice was talking to me. And I said to myself, right at my transition period from baseball to what? I'm listening to this tape 3 months in my tape deck. Didn't have the money to get it fixed. And I said to myself, you know what? All this dude is doing is telling his story. I see you. I see you. I am so boy. Come on, man. Don't get me excited. I said to myself, all this man is doing is telling his story. Wait a minute, KV. I have a story. What if I can tell my story and touch other people's lives the way this man is touching my life? In that moment, in that instant, I got a new dream. I got a new fire, just like baseball. I got a new passion. And I said to myself, now I got to figure out how to get paid to do this. And I gave my first speech, and I'm done because I got to go. I gave my first speech at a Toastmasters in Sacramento. I remember my very first time ever in front of an audience, I was wearing a purple suit. Y'all know I was in the Hammer. Come on, I was wearing a purple suit, tall boy. I was wearing a purple suit, and the lady was introducing me. And when she was introducing me, it felt like bottom of the ninth, runner on second and third, 2 outs. It's my time at the plate. That's what it felt like. Once I was done delivering the speech, it felt like I'd hit a double in the gap to win the game. And in that moment, I knew that speaking was going to fill that competitive void of playing baseball. And I put the determination, the work ethic, the focus, and it took me 16 years of trying to build my name and reputation locally to break through in the industry before the internet. 16 years of hustle, 16 years of focus. And in that 16th year, a district saw my talent. And in one day, in one sitting at a school district, I booked one, no exaggeration, I'm not bragging, 100 dates in one day. And that means I'm going to speak at every one of their schools multiple times that year. And that changed the course and the trajectory of my speaking business. And here I am 23 years later, still doing what I love to do. So young people watching this, as an athlete, you have some skills that are transferable that nobody else has. So listen to what these brothers are teaching you, because this is what it's all about. There you go. Tall boy, it's all you, baby.
Quick question. Two things. I would love to definitely connect with you offline.
Yes.
But at the Toastmasters, who was that core audience?
You know what? They were all older. They were all white. They were all older than me. They were different generation. And I was in there spitting fire. And they was like, I didn't know what I was doing, though. I was just talking, and there's probably a couple cuss words came out because I wasn't polished then yet. You know what I mean? I was just coming off the baseball field. But it was about 15 or 16 people that most of them were older than me and a couple generations older than me. And they just were an audience that poured into me, listened to me, taught me the game, loved on me. And I took off from Toastmasters.
Gotcha. So I say that because I was watching a piece, because I did some of the similar stuff that you did back when I was at the radio station, and I got pushback here in Atlanta. And I say that because I came into the school system and did something similar. And like you said, felt like I hit that game-winning shot, got that, you know, that game-winning dunk, and then it was how do you grow from there? How do you take it to the next level? And you've been doing it for years on top of years on top of years, and you're not seeing you're not seeing
the
results of that taking off. And was something that Eric Thomas said. I was watching a video that he had said something about I don't go to African American schools. I go to the white schools that have a small population of African Americans, but I'm out here motivating them. And that's what helped propel him get to that next level. And I wanted to pick your brain on that. And like I said, hopefully, and I think for me, and Montel, if you could bring back that question for me, but of what you had asked Kevin, I think the biggest issue that you have is like he said, I think athletes, they're taught competence. We're taught that there's no such thing as losing because all we know how to do is win. Now you have to learn how to channel that win to say you got to. What they always say, you can win the you can win the war. I mean, you can win the battle, but you're not going to win the war.
Battle not the war. Yeah.
And see, to me, I feel like I have to win every battle. Yeah. And I have to win every war. And no, that's just me.
You're right.
And my girlfriend will tell you all day, she's like, he got to win everything. But that's that competitive spirit that I have.
Yes.
I don't take L's. So now I'm getting older, and it's like, how do you learn and how do you transition? Because I have this confidence that ain't nobody. Virgil is not going to beat me at in this live stream. He's not going to beat me on this track. See, Virgil may have been a sprinter, but they said I ran like a deer, so I'm gonna give him that work too. You know,
that's real talk. I love it.
Hey, I gotta go, fellas. I love y'all, but I am Tallboy James. Give I am Tallboy my cell number, please, so we can chop it up. But we will definitely chop it up, man, for sure. Love y'all, man. I wish I could stay.
Go do what you got to do, brother. Go do what you do. We appreciate you, brother.
Now you see how I transition what he said right into Virgil, so Virgil can give his response. So
you know what I'm saying? You wouldn't let the man get off. You know, he's got to go make that money. I'm trying to interject, and you still. But that's the dialogue, right? So that's what this whole thing was all about: having that dialogue, positive folks, especially the African American community. So I'll now shut up and let the brother Torrance talk to us about. Because you've got a whole different avenue that you can talk to about it. You know, some of the things that you're especially involved with today.
So the thing about an athlete having that winning edge and winning attitude. So I'm a part of an organization. We have a mentor group, and we mentor kids from 8 to 18. And one of the things that they all say, they want to be athletes. They want to go in the NBA, they want to go in the NFL. And that's fine. But we also told to ask them, what is your backup plan if you don't make it? What's the percentage of those who make it into the NFL? What's your backup plan if you don't make it to college? And so we put together a program that, to talk to them about how do you, when you get out of high school, if you don't go to college, if you don't go to, and play sports, what is it, the core basics that you need to survive? How much is it going to cost for you to buy food every day for a month? How much is it going to cost for you to travel, whether it's a car or paying for public transportation? And a lot of them never thought of it. So for me, when I was coming in track and field at the time, you couldn't make money. Okay. So once you're done with college, or if you run, unattached, you do that for fun because you love the sport, because you could not make money at the time. You didn't start making money until I think the late 80s. But we had to also think about what's our next level. Okay. And so for me, sociology was it, because that helped me understand myself, groups of people, my community, but I tripped over and fell into IT. But for me, thinking about, what's my next step, because athletics is just not going to be that. You have to teach young people to think about those things, because some of them get hurt and they're devastated. And when they get devastated, they shut down. Montel, when an athlete get hurt and he is no longer or able to get back to the status that he was physically, mentally, and emotionally, it tears him down. Okay, so being an athlete is fine and great, but what's your next step if you don't make it into that? So that's why we have to push education, whether it's either going to college, it's going to a trade school, some type of motivation. We have to talk to young people about doing that. Otherwise, we're setting them up to fail. And so if they don't have a passion, like Kevin has a passion. He has a passion and he wants to motivate. He has that, so he found that for him. But what about all of those who not sure quite do it? For me, when I was in school, I didn't know what I want to do. I had no passion on anything other than hanging out. So, to help them transition from high school to being a productive citizen, to going to college, or even trying to go into the major league, this is one of those things that they need to do. They can have their dreams and try to obtain their dream, but they also need to be able to have the know-how to say, how do I research a company? How do I research the money that I want to do? I want to be an entertainer. How do I research to doing that? Because what we found, a lot of them research is talking to the boy next door, or somebody who said that they've been in the program, they've been doing that. So my research is saying, I'm going to do what he did. He did it. He didn't have to do it. One of the things that someone had always said that we hear every year, well, Bill Gates, he didn't go to college. He didn't graduate. We said, but was one of the things that he done. He kept in his industry. He kept learning. He took other classes and training. So I've been in IT for 40 years, and I work for the state. And, James and I met at Hewlett Packard, but now I work at the state as an analyst, but I'm still using that to mentor young men. I'm mentoring 2 young men from Sac State and some other young men, early on. How do you respond to the police? How do you respond to somebody in an interview? Interviewing skills. Those are some of the core things that they're going to need as an athlete, because if you're an athlete, you're going to be interviewed. You got to know how to speak. Have to stop saying, you feel me, those type of things,
Yeah. I believe what you're saying. You teach them life skills. Those life skills they need to be able to survive
right.
in the community and whatnot. But I want to comment on something you said that I thought it kind of struck me. We do need to invest in our own individual intellectual property, by educating ourselves, like you said, by learning this trade or a skill. I hate the imagery that we have in our communities. Sometimes it's very negative. And it's not very influential, but I do believe us as Black people, as generationals, we need to start to invest in our own intellectual property. Go talk more.
To say that, I think that a lot of these young kids, they want to be entertainers or musicians, rappers, whatever you want to call it. This new generation, Travis Porter post. I think that they are saying, you know what, I'm not going to give up my content as easily as maybe the SWVs and the TLCs back in the day. This new generation is saying, hey, I can do this myself. I don't really need the bag from you per se now, as opposed to back in the day, it was if you got a record contract with,
I believe, I'm agree. I agree with you 100%. Yeah.
And how they got messed over. No one never really explained that game from the late 80s to 2013. No one explained the game. Then when Travis Porter came out, it was like, hey, we're going to do our own thing, and our time is now, and we're not waiting for anybody.
I argue with E40 and Master P did it first, but you're right. Now the new generation is learning themselves.
There he go.
But
no. They did do it first, but the thing is, they never shared that information with anybody. They just did it for themselves, and when they did it for themselves, they got the bag, but it was never passed down to say ownership.
The masses.
I agree with you. Exactly.
To the man. To the man. So, but I'm even thinking more so because you're right. It has transcended in the music industry and learning that trade, but I don't think it's transcended this as a whole. Even in athletic sports, we still have professional athletes that go into the league and they're coming out broke. With the bad financial management.
But that's their fault though, because in all honesty, anybody that makes it in the professional level, there's classes, there's trainings, there's seminars.
I agree with you.
Now, if you come from that mentality of I never had nothing, and you get your first check of, let's just say your first check is $250,000 as your first check.
Yeah.
The first thing you're gonna do is want to go out and buy the watch, buy the jewelry, buy your mama a house. I get all of that, and then all of a sudden, as they say, I forgot who the athlete was, and I forgot who the rapper was, but it's a never-ending cycle. They all say the same thing. I had to put my boys on payroll. Well, now, like Paul, I think it was Paul Pierce. He says every time we went to a city, it was 8 of us. So that means I had to pay for 8 dinners. Mm-hmm. I had to pay for 8 vehicles. I had to pay for, and then when that check slows up, such as a pandemic of what we're in now, guess what? Hey, do I really need you on payroll? What am I bringing you along on this trip for? What value are you bringing? You look at a LeBron James, he has everybody on payroll, and whatever that payroll is not, I'm taking care of my boys and I'm paying for a job. Yeah, you have a job to do, and once you do that job, you get paid accordingly for whatever that market calls for, as opposed to MC Hammer back in the day. He put everybody on payroll, and then now when his time is up, he took care of the neighborhood, but he didn't take care of himself.
No, and I agree to a certain extent. I do believe you're right. You said there's no excuse. I don't believe there's any excuse, but still the message isn't being transcended across the board because we're not doing that. We still have too many percentages that are not. So either the message needs to keep being hammered home, or we need to be figuring out a different way for them to learn, because it's not only happening in sports, it happens in all those facets. It's just that we have so much. We're getting that bag in the beginning, but the bag in the end ain't there. It's not. They're not holding on to it. And I know that's the financial literacy portion of it. But I mean, also just investing ourselves in our intellectual property. Period. We're being monetized off of a lot, and we're not getting what we're being monetized for that much. And I'm not just talking about in sports. I'm talking about in the real world as well. We have too many pop-up shops with T-shirts when we should be able to own clothing stores. We have too many. I believe we'll argue it. I think that's a great hustle, but I don't see no reason why we can't own the manufacturing part. Why can't we do all that? Because we're already inside doing that. You're a videographer. You own a lot of your content and all that stuff.
I own all my content.
All your content. But a lot of people don't. YouTube owns their content.
But see, Martel, it goes, you have to take a step back. Because if you don't teach young people financial literacy, and matter of fact, ask a lot of kids in high school and early in college if they know how to write a check. A lot of them will say no, but they know how to use Cash App. Yeah, but that's my point. That's exactly my point. I'm getting to the same point. We need to invest in our own intellectual property or our intellect investment. We should learn all those things. We need to know all those things. Right. But you got to go back. You got to go back and teach them early, because at age of 21, 22, 23, you couldn't tell me a whole lot, because I thought I knew it, right? But if you caught me at 12, 13, 14 years old and saying, okay, you have $100,000. What's the best way for you to make more money? Because what happens is that we're too quick to get the money, and we're too quick to say, I can't wait 10 years for this money to mature. I want it now, or I'll take it now and I'll do something later with it. But we know later is never going to come. And so when you teach them financial literacy, how to balance a checkbook, don't look at Cash App, be able to manage your own money and how you manage that money, because what got a lot of entertainers and athletes in trouble, they let somebody else manage their money, and they just know they got money. And so all they're doing is writing checks and swiping, swipe, right? So athletes need to be able to do that and still be able to have their dreams. They still have to go to school in high school, even after college, when they're in college. They need to take those courses, or someone like, as a motivational speaker, Kevin. One of the things that Kevin can do as he's talking to them is talk to them about, financial literacy.
But those courses are offered, though. Those courses. There's a Dennis Kimbrough at Clark Atlanta. He teaches that course. Yeah, but I'm telling you, when we sit and talk to these kids, a lot of them don't know. But see, there's a bigger picture on that. It's because when the parents
aren't comfortable with those conversations and teaching them, they're not going to be comfortable with sitting down with their kids. So their kids aren't going to get some of that. Their kids not going to know. And so when we sit down and talk to them, they kind of push back, because the first thing that we're taught as young people is that we look at our parents for some guidance. And if my parents can't help me, or my parents don't care, I'm not going to really care. And I'm not saying that all parents are like that. But when you have some of those who aren't comfortable with finances, who aren't comfortable with writing letters, who aren't comfortable with getting out and speaking, you tend not to take your kids in those environments.
But what I'm saying is, once you get to, but what I'm saying is, but when you get to college, and this is a deeper rooted issue than need be, because I don't know if this was for you as a track or maybe you as a football player. They put me in cookie cutter classes in the beginning, and then when I showed that I could actually handle, taking better classes, then, or I said I'm signing up for this class myself, then it was, why did you do that? Because we had practice during this time, and it was like, well, this is the class that I need to take. That's on you to want to be able to say, I want to get my degree. You have a lot of athletes that are just saying, I'm just only here to, do whatever it takes so I can play ball. Look at Ben Simmons. He went to LSU, came in from Australia, went to LSU for 1 year. He had no intentions of going to school. He was there just for that one semester, played that first, and I think he didn't even play the second half because he was academically ineligible, and he became the number 1 or the number 2 pick in the NBA. So, I mean, he already had that mindset that he wasn't there to go to school, but he had to go the college route because playing ball overseas was not as popular at that time when he came out 8 years ago, as opposed to what it is now when you're seeing with the Ball brothers saying, hey, college ain't for everybody. You know what? I'm about to go over here to the NBL, and I'm gonna play 1 year, 2 years over here, because you have to be 1 year removed from the NBA. I think for football you have to be 3 years. You have to be 3 years. So where are you going to play at from a collegiate football level? You have to go to college because there's no other resources for you to go. It's a farm. It's a farm system. So to answer that question, it's you're in college, and while you're in college, they're putting you in these courses, and you're trusting the coach to say, "Hey, I remember I told coach I don't want to do study hall." He said, "You give me a 2.8, then you don't have to do study hall." He set the bar too low. I came with a 3.3.
I was about to say that because we had my coaches would say, "You're going to take these classes and you're going to keep your grades up." Period. No ifs, ands, or buts. Nope, you can't work. You can't go get a job because you have to keep your grades up.
And that's hard on African American because we don't have the money. And you don't have the money. So for me, how I was able to get around that, and this was just me thinking outside of my line of work. I did a summer job. My first year I came home, I was transitioning from Cal State Fullerton to the University of New Orleans. That second year, I did an internship with Macy's. Not an internship. I got a job doing security for Macy's at the mall. And then I don't know, there was an internship program with Bell South. And it's funny because, they talk about fast access ADSL. So from a tech perspective, they had this ADSL program that they were trying to get it out here in Atlanta. And when I saw the amount of money it was paying for an internship, I had to get into that program. And when I got into that program, that summer money was my money for the whole school year. So then it was like, oh, well, Bell South is giving out paid internships. Now, the question is, can you find a paid internship? Because you're talking about a Black man that's 18 to 21 years old looking for capital or looking for money so he can be able to buy some shoes, so he can, take a girl out on a date, so he can have some money, some pocket change to do whatever he wants. You have to find him that money. James has a daughter that's 18 years old that's going to college. She's not an athlete, but she's going to be in daddy's pockets as soon as she goes to college because she doesn't have that job per se, but daddy got it. We didn't have it when we were in college, so we had to find a way. And I ain't trying to be the broke brother because the sisters ain't trying to holler at you if you ain't got no money. So, tell me if I'm wrong or not.
No, you telling the truth. No, you telling the truth. You telling the truth. I want to circle. I want to circle back what you were saying, tall boy, about like you said, those classes are being taught for them to have financial literacy and have those responsibilities as they are. Like you said, there's a brother in Clark.
Responsibility. Yeah, but his name is Dennis Kimbrough. He does exactly what Kevin Bracey does.
Yeah. So I believe that is true, and I don't know if it's lack of access from a lot of brothers, because I mean, a brother from California, hard to know from a brother from Clark that's teaching that. And I've been to the rookie symposium several times in the NFL, and I know they teach those classes as well from the NFL, and probably I'm sure they do it in all the other professional sports. I'm not even just talking about just sports wise, as far as we need to know financial literacy from just for those guys that are going to become instant millionaires. Now we need to have it from also from a standpoint from the brothers just getting ready to get that 9 to 5 and understand how to invest in the IRA to be able to have that long-term money instead of going to buy that car and buy that chain and go just impress everybody. I think it needs to be something that's kind of more enrooted in us, and I do believe it needs to be at the high school level. Me personally,
the only way to change that is if you make that a course requirement, just like
that's what I was just saying. Yeah.
If you make it just like you have an intro to the course, like I think Morehouse has a intro to Morehouse University. You know that you learn the anthem, you understand what Morehouse stands for, and I'm only speaking on HBCUs. I'm not speaking on any other college, but there's a mandatory course that you have to take. Well, then now you have to say, well, let's make it a mandatory course for financial literacy. You know, so and that's one.
I hear you. I know. I hear you. I'm thinking even before. I'm thinking it needs to be in high school, brother. I mean, not even college.
Well, the problem that you have with high school is there's a curriculum that they have to stay on pace with. So that's why you hear they're taking the arts out of the schools. That's why you hear that basketball or football programs are great, but when they start talking about we're going to pull these other programs because they know that those are their money-making programs, they have a curriculum, and I'll tell you from the K through middle school level, I know that for sure. They tell you, I have friends that are teachers right now. I have to teach these core classes, and any extra time that I have, I can then probably instill some stuff into my kids. But I'm being judged as a teacher or as an educator on math, science, English, and whatever the other
the core classes. The core classes. Yeah,
I'm being judged on that and that only. Nobody cares about anything else. And so until you change that, it's going to be hard because you're saying that that's nice to have, but it's not considered a core class. And because it's not considered a core class.
Okay, and I'm a go off for that. So us brothers that's in this room, do we think they should start to enforce that within the curriculum, either as a core class? Or an elective.
That's a Betsy DeVos question.
So let me, and I love where this is going.
I like it.
and I'm going to interject because I've got some history and some insight to this. As you know, my wife is very involved with the administration of some local school districts here, being in her role. And some school districts are starting to implement a requirement of having financial literacy. Right, that it's not standardized across the entire U.S. So that's the Betsy DeVos question right there. But there are certain school districts across the country, primarily, I can only speak for the ones up here in Northern California that I'm directly related to. There is that graduation requirement of knowing how to write a check, knowing how to balance your account, knowing how to utilize those features and functions, right? So that is there today in certain districts, but again, it's more the progressive districts that are finding that time within the schedule to do it. Are they having school just a little bit earlier, a little bit later? Unfortunately, are they cutting out some of the arts and some of the other types of sciences and some of the other activities? Unfortunately, some of them are, but they are starting to bring in those requirements of having some real world knowledge and experience. So once you get out of this off this campus, you know how to officially and correctly write a check. You know how to actually prepare yourself and have a speech to be able to talk in front of an interview, right? Taking out the ums and the ahs and all of the things that you talk about. So I wanted to interject on that. And again, I wanted to.
No, that's a blessing, brother. Man. That's a blessing. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned.
I want to have this conversation turn into literally a second round because there's a lot of passion here. And there's a lot of consternation as well, right? I mean, folks, we've got our our perspectives, we've got our experiences, and Montel, you can kick something off here, man. We're gonna definitely do this again. If you've got
I
one
didn't mean to.
other question, no, this is great, right? Because I mean that's what we do, right? We have those timely, relevant conversations, and sometimes they can get awkward. That's what we do, and so that's what the whole platform is about. And just wanting to maintain the viewership, I don't want to go too much longer than 90 minutes. If you've got one, probably the last question for your panel in terms of maybe what we can do today and tomorrow to bring about some positive change or whatever the case may be, I'll leave it up to you. But I just kind of, again, want to be aware of that.
No, to be honest with you, I want to use the last 5 minutes for to let them be their platform. I mean, Tallboy and Mr. Torrance definitely, I'm loving the insight. I always love to have the intellectual discussions and battles because I like to see it from everybody's lens. Because I know my lens isn't always the right ones or wrong ones. It's just I need to see it from a different view. But I want you guys to talk about what you guys got going on, and how can the masses reach you guys and what you guys are doing, so they can get a little bit better content on what's going on from you fellas.
Well, I think that well, two things. The conversation that you were talking about earlier, Montel, as far as why there's no HBCUs here on the West Coast. That conversation, I think you should get some educators and those who are involved with the community services, and then they can kind of help dial some of that in. But as far as sports and coaching, the young people nowadays, I think they're starting to understand from a political standpoint where they are, where they belong, and where they want to be. We have an opportunity to take that and use that. And I'm all about educating young people and get them started early. So we can talk to them about being athletes and what it takes to be an athlete, but also what will it take for you to be, a positive citizen in the community and how to give back to your community. And you can definitely do that by athletics. I've seen a lot of kids who graduate high school or even college has come back to the community and has participated in their learnings, their life lessons, giving back to the kids. So there is still an opportunity. And now you can make good money. You make money, in all sports now. Now you have track and field. You can make money in track and field. So now there's another opportunity to say, if you want to run track, here's the path to go that way. Same thing with basketball, football, baseball. And, if we can find ways to connect organizations to each other, we have a lot of silos. We have a lot of organizations that are working with the youth, working with mentor programs, working with the city, state, and the county. But, we should kind of do it like a spider web. We can have a hub, but we can connect to all the other ones, because what we do once a month, I need to funnel that young man over to another organization that's doing something those weeks that we're not, and how can he leverage off of that? And the other organizations could do that and not feel that you're taking away, my asset, mainly those who are getting paid for the number, the head counts, So, athletics is going to be around. It's how we groom our young people in moving on into athletics, making money, or if they don't make it or can't make it, how can they give back to the community, but using their athletics as a core, for them to be able to get in front of people, teach kids, teach adults, and everyone else going forward.
Great. Tallboy, man, wrap us up. Oh, go. I'm sorry, James. Go ahead.
I was like, Verge, before you go, because there was a comment, could you just give kind of the elevator pitch on what the Alpha Academy is?
The Alpha Academy is a mentor program that we hold here in Sacramento, my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. And we mentor young boys from the age of 8 to 18. And that started years ago when we would go talk to young people, and they didn't know what the NAACP was. They didn't know what that acronym was. They didn't know what the Urban League was. So we started doing that and found that there was a lot of disparities, and we needed to bridge the gap with these young kids. And we also, with that, we raise money and we give scholarships out to high school seniors. and we're targeting young men, but we also give scholarships out to young women as well. So it's a mentor program that we built out. It's been doing very well, but we also like to try to make sure we expand that out to the rest of the community.
Great. Tall boy, wrap us up, my man.
So can you repeat the question first?
Oh, I talk about what you got going on, where people can reach you out.
So I have a lot of things that are going on, and I think COVID has kind of shut a lot of things down. So of course I create content. I have transitioned from creating celebrity and covering events and seminars and conferences into saying I'm willing to help. I want to help the small business customer out by creating content, commercials, live streams for them. Because we're in a time now where a professional live stream, because I'm pretty sure you guys are all doing the Zoom calls, but I think the ones who want a more professional live stream, I'm actually producing that or producing that content. Whereas I don't know if you can see these pictures behind my wall where I've interviewed all of these great celebrities behind me. That was cool. But my thing is, what I saw last year or 2 years ago was there was a lack of attention for the small business customer. And I think that the small business owner. And my thing was, how do you help that small business owner? And they need video production. They need to find a way to get their voice and get their messaging out to where people can put money back into their businesses so they can continue to thrive. The second part that I do, and we really have not done anything in the last year because of one, COVID, and then two, we try to surround ourselves around, attach ourselves with another organization. But I have a nonprofit called the Network of Stars Foundation. My mom passed away on New Year's Day of 2015. A good friend of mine was like, "Hey man, you're always networking with people." Her biker name, because she used to ride motorcycles, was Star. So we called it Network of Stars Foundation, and we teach entrepreneurship and networking with youth. So that part of giving back, that's what we're doing. But I'm not doing it from an athlete perspective. I'm doing it from the ones who want to be in entertainment. So I come from a background of radio. When I transitioned from sport into radio, when I left sport, I said, what am I going to do with myself? And radio was something that I wanted to do. And there's so many cool jobs in the entertainment industry that you can make a nice living, whether it's being a makeup artist or being a DJ or, being a producer, being a talent scout or a PR person. So our thing was surrounding youth here in the Atlanta area. And we would find a group of youth that is already a part of an organization. And we would bring our nonprofit in, attach ourselves to their organization. And we would then say, these are your kids. We're going to bring in our group of professionals to say, this is what, these are the cool jobs that you can have, because everybody wants to be that rapper or they want to be that band member, but they're not understanding that you can be a manager. You could be that makeup artist, and you can you get to travel the world just like they do. You think Beyonce don't have a team of people? You think Rihanna don't have a team of people? So, the DJ, I mean, you got to think, DJ Nabs traveled. He was Crisscross's DJ, and he was on tour with Michael Jackson, and he still lives off of that one moment. So, so building relationships that way, we have to, hopefully, as COVID dies down, or hopefully would die quickly, maybe we can pick that back up in 2021. And if anybody's interested in following in what I'm doing, tallboy.us is the website. I am Tallboy on all my socials and YouTube if you want to see some of the celebrity content. I try to entertain, because a lot of these artists are in the Atlanta market, and I've just been blessed from a wide range, from jazz to R&B to gospel to rap and influencers and politicians. I've been blessed to be able to surround myself around them. And I think a lot of it has to do with my height. So, they're like, dang, he tall as what, and it's like, oh my God, I'm in front of, and I think that's the cool thing, to where after that initial energy of he's so tall and this is that celebrity is over with, we can now have a nice intellectual conversation And that's where you see all these pieces that are on my wall behind me of of the artist. So that's what I do.
Awesome. Appreciate it, mate.
Man.
Appreciate it.
Okay,
Bless
I
them.
got some people that I'm gonna send your way.
Yeah, that's right. You got some folks in the music industry that you definitely got some contact. Montel, tell the folks what you're doing, sir.
Oh man, me, I'm doing a whole bunch. So I'm really on a crusade to kind of bring Division II football back in the state of California. Homeboy laughing at me.
Okay.
He laughing at me. No, but I believe that that mechanism has been cut off, and I know it's a financial thing and a financial issue, but I really do believe. I think Title IX is a whole different discussion to kind of cut it off. But I mean, I really want to feel it, bring it back, because I know what it's done for me and my brothers that I went to Division II school and played football with, how we've been able to do that. And I think that mechanism in California has been kind of just cut off. And I really want to figure out a way to kind of hopefully attract people and bring that back. Number two, I have my own nonprofit and my own high school all-star game, football game. And I'm the sports analyst for football in San Diego for all high school football. So I'm really entrenched and grooved in that. My nonprofit helps kids from understanding how to get recruited from that. Not the Division I athletes, but that D2 NAIA Division III athlete. He doesn't have the same outlet or the same web out here as anyone else. So I try to bridge that gap. Whether it's somebody going to school in the Midwest or going to school back east or going down south, help them introduce them to those coaches and help them see their talents so they can offer those guys scholarships, offer them an opportunity to play sports out there. So that's pretty much the main thing I do outside the 9 to 5, and raising the family. Man, I'm a pretty simple dude. I just, try to grind out and want to help as many people in the community as I possibly can.
Love it, brother. Love it. So, I wanted everyone to say what it is that they do, just for the audience to understand and see. We've got two gentlemen with nonprofits. We've got a fraternity mentoring program. We've got Mr. Bracy, who is out right now talking to a high school football team about positive mentality and positive attitude. We are doing good in the community. We're doing the right thing, right? We are having those conversations with not just the youth, but we're having these conversations with leaders in society. So the idea is to be active, be mobile, do something, right? If you got something on your mind, you got something on your heart, something you're passionate about, like Montel talked about, bringing D2 back. Right. If you're passionate about it, put a plan in place, make it happen. Don't say you can't do anything. I think I'm starting to get a lot of positive vibes from. I'm reading the decision from Kevin Hart right now, and who would have ever thought that I'd be quoting Kevin Hart with with positive tidbits. But stay focused, do what we do. Let's make sure that we continue to be positive influences to our youth. Academics is number one. Athletics is great too, but you got to have something to fall back on again if you don't make that roster. Gentlemen, I need to say this while we are still streaming. You guys are phenomenal, right? This was a session that Montel and I talked about about a month or so ago and wanted to have this, and it touches some nerves. I could tell there was a lot of passion in this conversation, and that's a good thing. Right. There's some things that we still need to talk about. And I think we'll continue these conversations. I'm texting with each of you behind the scenes right now saying we're not done. We're going to continue to drive these conversations either amongst ourselves. We'll bring some other folks online. There were a number of folks that were invited to this panel that didn't make it. And interesting enough, one of the gentlemen is joining now. But since we're wrapping up, we'll talk to him after we go live. But we will continue to have this conversation, and we will continue to drive forward and continue to try to make change within our communities. With that being said, gentlemen, you guys have a phenomenal day and stay blessed and keep doing what you do.
Don't get cut.
Don't be cut.
Thank you, James.
I love it.
All right, have a good one, man. Y'all enjoy. All right.